Okay, now we're going to talk about layers. Layers are a really important concept in AutoCAD. Layers are used to distinguish between different elements, to distinguish between different scales, to enable us to isolate one object in a drawing and show it in another drawing. So where do we find the layers panel? Well, most of the layers are going to be that you're using are going to most of the actions are going to be up in this layers property area, which is in the home area. Okay, and if we want to do more things with layers, we can click on layer properties, or we get the layer property box popping up here. And in our layer property box, we can see all these different elements. So we've got a couple of layers in this drawing. We've got the layer 0. That's always present in all drawings. We've got the layer def points. That's a very special layer because it never prints. And def points is used for doing construction lines and things like that. And the idea is that you do your construction lines in def points, leave the construction lines in the drawing, you don't erase them, and then they won't print out. In practice though, most people don't use def points because it's too hard to tell the difference between def points and a normal layer, and then you tend to draw everything in def points and then nothing prints out. So we don't tend to use it in practice, but it's there if you want it. So then we've got a couple of other layers. We've got a dimension layer that's going to be at 1 to 5, a dimension layer that's at 1 to 10. We can see there's a joint line here. It's continuous at the moment. We're going to change that so that it's a dotted line, and we've got a title text and a timber layer. And we can do a couple of different things with layers. We can turn them on and off, which we'll show you here now for a second. Now we can show you some of those layers. So if I pan down here, we can see we've got a few layers here. And this line here is drawn in the text layer, and this line here is drawn in the timber layer, and this line here is drawn in the steel layer. And so if I click on this, that turns the text layer off. I can click on it again and it'll turn it on. And I can also use freeze to turn these layers on and off. And so if I turn these all off, you can see what happens. Generally, you wouldn't turn off the current layer. This is in steel, and if I try to turn it off, it gives me a warning sign. Do I want to turn it on, or do I want to keep it off? Generally, you don't turn it off. So I can turn these all back on again. Another useful thing that you can do is you can lock these layers. So say I'm trying to erase something and it's quite difficult to select the things. If I try to modify these elements here now, I can I can select them, but this won't be modified. You see the way it's locked there. So that's a useful way of controlling your drawing. And so now we'll show you how to create a layer. So we just go up to here and new layer, and we just click on that. And I'm going to create a layer called dowels, D-O-W-E-L-S, and I'm going to have it cyan. So principally we use these colors down here. They tend to print better. These colors up here are typically used if we want an actual color. These are used if we just want a pen weight. Okay, so I've got this dowels layer. So if I want to make that current, I just double click on it, and now I can draw that in that dowel layer. Okay. Okay, so that's my dowel. Now, if I wanted to have a different line type and a different line weight, what I can do is, for example, on the joint line, instead of using a continuous line type, I could use a hidden line type. So if I just click on that, most of the time you'll find that the line types aren't loaded in unless you're using a template. So I can load these in. and there's hidden. I can go like load it in, and then I select it and go OK. And now if I double click on that, when I draw with my joint line, it'll appear in a dashed or a hidden line.